In Teyvat, there was a civilization more ancient than the yokai of Inazuma, or even the adepti of Liyue, and even the Archons themselves, in a time when the task of guiding humanity wasn't befallen onto the Archons, but instead to the Seelie. In this video, we will explore the ancient civilization of the Seelie, the moon goddesses, and the great catastrophe that has befallen them. But first, I want to thank this video's sponsor, Ace Defender, a high-quality SRPG masterpiece that combines authentic turn-based RPG battles with tower defense elements. The game has a traditional RPG storyline for solo play with 40+ chapters. That's nearly 2,000 levels. It's set in a time where a rebellion in a clan of dragons threatens the balance of good and evil in the world. The heroine, Alifida, the Silver Dragon Princess, escaped with the Creation Crystal to human lands. There she awoke the Creation Crystal and summoned heroes to fight evil with your help. There are 5 factions to choose from: Divine, Demon, Shadow, Nature, and Light. They each even have their own hero backstories. The game starts with 48 heroes and there are 2 new heroes released every 2 weeks. Level up and combine heroes and equip gear to create a powerful party. You can speed up the gameplay or slow the action down in game modes such as Expedition, Dungeons, and PvP. Explore dungeons and regions, engage in trials to level up your heroes and collect rare items, then fight against other players within your server, then take it across servers with multiple teams. New users who download the game using my link in the pinned comment will get 10 Royal Recruit tickets after completing level 2-8. So click that link and download the game today. Thank you Ace Defender for sponsoring this video. In the new island of Inazuma, called Tsurumi Island, we are met with a mysterious fog and a repeating of events within the island. It is even hinted that Celestia may be involved in that time loop, suggesting stuff like the god of time, among other things, but we'll talk about that in a future video. For now though, what I want to discuss is the repeated appearance of the moon in the murals. I think this information is important for future theories as well as the future of the lore itself. So I wanted to cover that first. We will be primarily looking at 2 books for this lore, Moonlit Bamboo Forest and Records of Jueyun, and a few passages from A Drunkard's Tale and A Heart's Desire. However, do know that in-game, the NPCs believe that these stories to be nothing but folklore, and in Drunkard's Tale, nothing but the whims and stories of, a drunkard. And it is precisely because of this that it's very difficult to confirm if these books are even true or not. However, with the new murals of Tsurumi Island and the murals of Dragon Spine, we can see slowly that this might actually be somewhat true, and many theories could be born from this information. So we'll take a look at it. So sit back and relax as we discuss the lore of the moons, the ancient civilization, and the great catastrophe. While playing Genshin, if you ever look at the moon, you may have noticed that the moon never changes. It's always a full moon. But this wasn't the case so very long ago. In fact, the moon and its phases were believed to be goddesses. These goddesses had a duty to Teyvat, and should they fail, it was believed that a disaster would fall upon Teyvat that very day. We read this from the book Moonlit Bamboo Forest Volume 3. The passage reads as follows. Long ago, 3 bright moons once hung in the night sky. These 3 moon sisters, their years numbering more than that of the Geo Archon, and their year of birth, dating before even the very bedrock upon which Liyue Harbor now rests. The moons were daughters of Prose and Song, sovereigns of the night sky. They navigated the heavens above in their silver carriage, alternating with one another thrice a month. If the rain was not promptly passed from one sister to the next, a terrible disaster would occur that very day. These 3 luminous moons shared but one love, the stars of daybreak. Only at the fleeting moments when day and night converged could one of the 3 sisters pass the fading stars and gaze upon the chambers of the morning stars. Moments later, as the new dawn would break over the horizon, the carriage would quickly ferry the night sisters away. The three sisters shared an equal affection for their one and only love, much like the affection they shared for one another. But this was all before the world would be smashed against the tides of a great calamity. With time, disasters overturned the sovereign carriage and laid ruin to the halls of the stars. The three sisters of the night turned against one another, leading to their eternal parting by death. Only one of their pale corpses now remains, ever shedding its cold light. From that passage, the author of the book describes the three moon sisters and their role in ancient times, as well as the disaster that befalls them, and she believes that the moon we see in the night sky is but the pale corpse of one of the sisters, while the other sisters turned into dust. It's a pretty far-fetched story, and difficult to think how an author from Liyue could come across such a revelation, but it's not entirely impossible, as we'll see later. In addition to that, from the book The Heart's Desire, the three moon sisters were named Arya, Sonnet, and Canon. However, with the new murals in Tsurumi Island, this may no longer be the case. Since both books were written by someone fairly recently, within the past 100 years or so, the information within may have already been altered by the passage of time. In Tsurumi Island though, the murals are ancient. Translating the passages would yield us with two other names for the moon sisters, Trivia and Luna, which is a reference to Roman mythology of the moon goddess. In the original Roman poem this passage was taken from, Lunarum would be Diana, who is the goddess of the moon in Roman mythology. But I don't want to get too deep with any theories just yet. Just know from the murals, the two moon sisters were instead named Trivia and Luna instead of Arya, Sonnet, and Canon. Where that takes us from here, well, that's still up for debate. We'll come back to the moon sisters in a little bit. First, we have to talk about the civilization that may have been worshipping them, and they are the Seelie. It is said during this ancient time, the Seelie were the dominant race that lived in Teyvat. They were a beautiful race with humanoid forms, great wisdom, and godlike power. Their civilization encompassed that of Teyvat and even the Dark Sea and beyond. They built large and prosperous cities and palaces, and more importantly, they were tasked with guiding the savage humans to prosperity. Who gave them this task though? It is unknown for now, but it might have been the three moon sisters. Their prosperity and their power came to an end after a great catastrophe struck their nation. It is unknown what caused the calamity, but it is believed it was because the moon sisters failed to pass the rains and failed in their duty, as mentioned in Moonlit Bamboo Forest. This happens after the Seelie met a traveler from afar. This lore comes from the book Records of Jueyun, Volume 4. It reads as follows. At a far-flung moment in the distant past, the ancestor of the Seelie met a traveler from afar, with whom they swore an oath of union, witnessed by the three sisters of the lunar palace. Just 30 days later, a sudden disaster struck. The Seelie and their lover fled into exile as the world collapsed around them, fleeing as the terrible calamity caught up with them and seized them. Their cruel punishment was to be separated from each other for eternity, and to have their memories wiped without a trace. The graceful but heartbroken Seelie and the sisters grew more sullen and withdrawn with each passing day, to the point where their wondrous forms withered away, leaving fragments of their former selves scattered in the mountains and ruins, where they turned into tiny little life forms. They had forgotten so much, lost so much, and been stripped of their voices and wisdom. Yet they continued to sing the same songs of grief, still harboring a shred of the deep love they once had for their long-lost lover. They will act as guides to travelers who stop in the mountain mist, seeking to retrace their memories of an ancient story in long-abandoned ruins, disused makeup cabinets, and now undecipherable poetry. Now at the end of this volume, it is also explained that these are nothing but incoherent folktales. Yet all too well, we know that Seelies do exist, and they lead us to treasure whenever we approach them. But with murals as old as these, can we really say for certain that they are nothing but folktales? The ancient civilizations that we see in Dragonspine and Tsurumi Island may be the same ones as the Seelie, though it is still very difficult to say if that is the case. The reason we might have records of these stories might also only be because recent civilizations such as the people of Tsurumi Island and those of Mondstadt have already discovered these places before, except for the hidden things we uncovered through magic or puzzles. As such, these ruins may have been visited by scholars, adventurers, or even writers such as Wu Yuan. As we know that the people of Tsurumi Island also saw the murals themselves, and even the Traveler's Commission was to retrieve information from Tsurumi Island. So it's not impossible to see that writers may have taken inspiration from the murals themselves. So the folktales we read about earlier could be interpretations of these murals. And as these ruins stretch back far beyond any record, and even the likes of Morax would not be able to tell us these tales, in the end, none of this might even be true. Or all of it might be true. I hope with this video you now know about the Moon Sisters and the Seelie, for I believe that we'll eventually learn more about them in the future, and that this piece of information right here is very important to the current lore of Dragonspine and Tsurumi Island. This way, future theories might make more sense. But that'll be all from me. If you think that was informative, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It really helps out. And thanks again to Ace Defender for sponsoring this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye.